The big news story around the country is the needless, senseless and bloody nasty death of a New South Wales police officer. Detective Inspector Bryson Anderson was a duty officer at the Windsor Police Station. Windsor is just on the outskirts of Sydney. And that man presumably woke up this morning with an expectation of spending time with his family over Christmas, like we all do. That man woke up this morning with an expectation that he would be seeing his family this weekend. But he also did his job today, which was that he was called into a dispute, and as best as we can understand, a dispute between neighbours, with a suggestion that one of those neighbours was firing arrows into the next door neighbour's property. When he turned up, he was confronted by one of two people who are now currently in custody, and charges have not been laid, so I can say the following. And the allegation will be that one of those people took an axe and placed it into the back of his head. A brutal, senseless, nasty and disgusting crime. One that we will have to wait and see about whether this is going to make it all the way to a murder case, a manslaughter case, I don't know. But as a country, this is one of those moments where we have to understand just how bloody dangerous police work is. Just how dangerous it is in every single city, in every single state, in every single country town. Just how valuable and just how important our police force is. All of my heart and all of my soul. Can't even begin to imagine what his family is going through right now, and then the shockwaves inside a relatively small community and the wider police family in New South Wales and the brother and sisterhood right around the country. His death is particularly shocking because it is yet another example of a lack of respect that people have for police. But I'm not saying that in a good old-fashioned, I wish we went back to the 1950s way. We got some crime statistics that were released today in New South Wales. They suggested that assaults against police had not risen, had not fallen, but were stable. It was part of a wider narrative about crime statistics that was supposedly good in New South Wales. And if all you do is look at the first line of the crime statistics, you would think, well, okay, things seem to be going okay. It's relatively stable, a bit up here, a bit down there, but it's not really a problem. But what if I told you that the real truth about crime statistics is that hundreds of thousands of people are the victims of crimes in New South Wales every single year? In fact, I can put an exact number on it for you. It's 450,000 separate crimes that were committed against property or against people. That is 450,000 victims. That is 450,000 times that police were called out and did their job. But even more shocking is in the very same statistics that today politicians and even some of the brass were running around and saying were great numbers, with the number of assaults against police. In New South Wales, close to 2,700 police officers are assaulted every single year. To break that down, that is a violent attack on a police officer that's more than 2,000 people. In fact, it's 6 attacks on police officers, and these are only the ones that gets reported, 6 assaults on police officers every day of every week of every month for the past 12 months. That is not stable. That is not acceptable. The death of this officer will force change and must force change. If you decide to assault a police officer, that should be a very separate crime with a mandatory jail term. If you murder a police officer, or your actions resulted in their death through manslaughter, you should go to jail and never leave. Regardless of what poor Didim's story may be put before a court, the men and women of the New South Wales, Victorian, South Australian, Western Australian, Northern Territory, Tasmanian, Victorian and Queensland police forces must have the full weight of the law behind them. Because if they strike at a member of the police force, they are striking at all of us that are good and decent. This is a disgraceful crime. This is a heartbreaking crime. But sadly, this is not the only example of somebody who thought that they could get away with assaulting a police officer. 6 cops in one state every day. That's not stable. That's not acceptable.